things that are outside of your control. Let go of the control and realize that you're in God's hands and you're in for a ride. And realize that you are buckled into God's arms and God's embrace. If you take it that you are buckled into your own embrace, we're in trouble. Brace yourself, right? Yes, all puns intended, okay? But when you realize that you are in God's embrace and He's the one upholding you, now you upholding yourself, you can rest in God's grace and go along and realize there's ups and downs. But then you also have to stop caring so much on what people are thinking about your situation, or thinking about the circumstances that surround your life, thinking about what people are saying, what the boss is saying here and there, and realize that, you know what truly matters is, what does God think of me? What is God saying about me right now? And again, there are plenty of scriptures. I mean, we can go 2 Corinthians 1, 8 through 10, and what Paul talks about. Micah 7, 8 through 10. I have another scripture here talking about, that the enemy sometimes rejoices over us when they see us going through trouble. But no, don't rejoice, enemy. And so, again, these things will happen. We know they will happen. The question is, what will you do in the midst of them? Will you allow them to rule over you, or will you allow Christ to rule over you and dictate who you are and what you should do in those moments? And realize you have permission to fall, but you don't have permission to stay down. Get back up again, because Christ is with you. So I do want to talk about, and in this series we're going to talk about some different characters in the Bible and some of their processes of what seems like failure. But if we look at it now, we don't really see the failure in it the same way, because we have different perspective. But we were in those moments, what would we do? So the first person I want to talk about is John the Baptist. John the Baptist was an amazing prophet and man of God. He is the cousin of Jesus. When Jesus was in the womb with Mary and Elizabeth, John's mother, all of a sudden when they met, they were pregnant. It says that John leaped in the womb. Right when she was around Mary, again, Elizabeth was with Mary, and the two babies were in the womb, that John leaped in the womb. And John was a prophet of God that went into the wilderness and was preaching a prophetic message. He was preparing the way for Jesus. He would baptize people. That's why he was called John the Baptist. He would go in the wilderness and baptize people. And he was a wild man. He was a very in-your-face man, could tell you off, told the Pharisees off, very brash. He ate locusts. He had camel hair that he had here. He looked a little bit crazy, right? That's what it feels like. That's what the picture kind of paints, so to speak. But he was a wild man for God, and people flocked. I mean, there were tons of disciples that came to John the Baptist in the wilderness. Now, I want to mention here some of what it talks about here. Let's even talk about the prophecy about John the Baptist. Luke chapter 1, verse 13 to 17 says, "But the angel said to him," let me just stop here. There's not many times when an angel of the Lord announces a birth, okay? Very few times. You see it with Jesus, and you see it right here with John the Baptist. So let me just note that and stop for a second, because that is stinking amazing, all right? John the Baptist had an angel come to his parents to tell him about